You've been finance minister for 7 years now, but you really follow Canada's broader fiscal picture closely. So given the persistent tariffs and a projected federal deficit that could range between $70 billion and $100 billion, do you have any concerns about Canada's fiscal outlook?
I think it's obviously a very important exercise. There hasn't been a true fiscal statement for Canada in a long time, so there will be a lot of interest. So no matter what the initial number is, the deficit for the current year, I think it's very important that we see a downward trajectory with respect to deficit and a credible plan as to bring this to a sustainable path.
And if you look at the economy, do you base your assumptions on the idea that the tariffs could be in place for a longer period of time and that sectoral tariffs could actually remain in place?
Well, we're going to update our economic assumption, but when we did the budget, we assume on average 10% tariff for 2 years, always under the rationale that if you exclude energy, the U.S. has a trade surplus with Canada. But we need to be mindful that if tariff were to be permanent, the economic impact on the structure of the Canadian economy would be permanent. So we really need to go through the bottom of this and find common ground and a solution that is optimal for both. What has been a very successful economic partnership, we need to go back closer to where we were, certainly.
I just want to talk about the federal budget that's going to be released on November 4th. So the government plans to release their budget and their major fiscal documents in fall instead of spring. Does that change anything for you?
Well, the timing is for them to choose. Obviously, when they used to do February budget and all provinces and territory were in March, it was just fine. But since the pandemic, their budget came always later. So the move is interesting. But what's really important for us is the content of the budget. The timing is a bit of a side issue. We need an infrastructure program that will help province and territory face the great challenges that are associated with population growth. We need more school, more hospital, more housing, and the federal infrastructure program is expired since December 2023. They're the AAA credit. There was a program to the tune of $10 billion a year. So for Quebec, this represents close to $2 billion a year. We're looking for help in infrastructure from the federal government, and we're all on content, not the timing.
Any other expectations from this budget?
I'm expecting a federal infrastructure program that is helpful for province and territories.
So the message is clear here. Quebec's economy is heavily exposed to trade.
Correct.
So you have minerals, aluminum, 50% tariffs there, lumber. I don't know where it is right now. I think it's 45% in total, or likely to become 45%. Dairy product is at risk, aerospace also. Have you seen measurable impacts on Quebec's economy aside the contraction in GDP we saw in the second quarter?
Yes, we do. We're seeing all over Canada capital expenditures are really weak. Because of the uncertainty, and people need the certainty with respect to the access to the #1 consumer in the world. And therefore, the uncertainty period is reducing capital expenditure. It's reducing export, obviously, given the tariff. So we are seeing impact. We are seeing also that originally the weakness in the labor market was in the sectors that are related to trade. Now it's spreading. It is a summer job for students. It's all over the economy that we're seeing weakness slowly spreading. So we're at the core of the weakness. Q2 was a negative bounce back from the strength of Q1, and now Q3 is going to be difficult. And we expect that Q4 is going to be difficult for the U.S. And if we collectively want to have a good 2026, then we need these tariffs to be lowered.
From a fiscal policy perspective,
or eliminated.
You'll release...
Even better.
So from a fiscal policy perspective, you'll release an update, I guess it's in November. Are you planning any measures to help Quebec companies to remain competitive, considering that in the US they're lowering taxes, that in the US they have an incentive actually to stay in the US and produce in the US? Could you lower the fiscal burden for businesses in Quebec to help them thrive and remain competitive, considering the situation?
That's an easy question because we already done that. The federal government announced that they were going to bring back accelerated depreciation for capital expenditure. We've announced that we will harmonize, and now the federal government needs to table its legislation, and therefore all corporations can have certainty with respect to capital expenditure.
But could you do more on the top of what was announced?
We can always do more, and when you're in politics, there's infinite demand for limited means.
Okay.
Let me answer this. If the federal government wants to lower corporate taxes, that would be helpful to Quebec Corporation.
Okay, another message here. In your March budget, well, let's talk about the limited potential here. You projected a $13.6 billion deficit in Quebec. It's a lot for a province of 9 million people. S&P Global recently downgraded Quebec's credit rating from AA- to A+. Are you preparing measures to rein in spending?
Well, first of all, since the downgrade, 24-25, which was supposed to be a deficit of $11 billion, has been revised to 7.5, and that's after contributing to the Generation Fund. So the deficit of 24-25 is 0.8% of GDP. The deficit of 23-24 is 1% of GDP. The deficit of 26-27 is forecasted at 1% of GDP. So the problem is with 25-26, which is at 1.8. 1.8 is too much. BC is at 2.6, Nova Scotia at 2.2. We want to bring that down. But in there is a $2 billion contingency fund for current economic condition. So if we were not to need the contingency reserve, we'll do a lot better. So we are aware that the current deficit at 1.8% of GDP is too high. Our economic assumption, 10% tariff on average, we're currently at 7-8% in Quebec. Our economic forecast was 1.1% of GDP. All that is in line, so we're looking at doing better.
Was the downgrade fair then?
Sorry. The downgrade, I would have preferred a negative outlook first.
Okay. Since the downgrade, what appetite have you seen from investors for Quebec bonds and issuance?
That's how they usually do it, by the way.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised that we skipped that step.
So since the downgrade, what has been the appetite from following bond issuances?
The appetite is fantastic. We've done the largest issue in Europe, $3 billion, 10-year last summer. We're trading flat with Ontario. The demand for our product is solid. We have a credit plan to balance the budget with both expenditure and revenue measure.
Yeah, and no real changes in spreads, which is worth noting. So given the mix of geopolitical dynamic and the favorable credit environment in the US, should Canadian provinces seek to reduce or to actually increase their share of their bond issuances in US dollars?
It depends on the arbitrage. We swap everything back into Canadian dollar. We diversify our funding. Obviously, issues in euros and US are large, but we're sensitive to cost. So this year, the arbitrage was interesting. We did large issues, and we will continue to issue, on average, 2 issues in euros and 2 issues in US per year.
So no change there?
No change there.
Polls are giving the Parti Québécois a win in 1 year. They're promising a referendum there. And I want to be careful with my words, but the word referendum, it's not necessarily well perceived in financial markets. Have investors started to talk to you about this risk that they may see on their radar?
I think there's so much risk on the radar right now that no, the focus is not on that. In due time, there will be an election. We will be competitive, and we're looking forward to win.
And just to go back to tariffs, do you believe that down the line, there's...
Politics is more fun when you win.
Yes. So just when you look at tariffs right now, do you believe that bonds and the spreads and the risk is going to push the spreads higher down the line over the upcoming months?
We don't see it right now. If the tariff were to be, I want to be honest with the people that are listening to us, if the tariffs were to be permanent, there will be permanent impact on the Canadian economy to the extent that we're on a lower growth path on a permanent basis, then we could have wider spread. We don't right now. It is in the interest of the United States and Canada to pursue this great economic integration that has brought so much benefit to both countries.
Let's talk quickly about Hydro-Quebec. So electricity was few years ago a main incentive to attract businesses in Quebec. Right now, the supply is limited. What new argument do you have in Quebec to attract foreign companies to invest in the province, considering that there's a limit on power now?
Certainly human capital. We have great universities, a lot of talent. We have a geographic location, competitive cost. We have comparative advantage, a vast amount of natural resources, expertise in aerospace, aluminum, artificial intelligence, bioscience. We have a lot of assets. We can count on ourselves.
Let's talk about human capital. So the CEO of Groupe Dynamite, it's a $6.5 billion company we have in Quebec. The CEO came out recently saying that we'll move to the US. It's headquartered in Montreal. They said that they have concerns for their C-suite executives because they actually have issues with immigration requirements. Every year, 12 months, 13 months, they have to renew their visas or the immigration requirements, which brings uncertainty. Could you provide an exemption in Quebec for C-suite level executives that have a good part of the business outside Canada?
Well, first of all, that already exists. Okay, so just to be clear, when you're in politics, there's a lot of complaints, and certainly one of my surprise, I thought a lot of citizens would complain. I found out that a lot of corporations also have complaints when you're the finance minister. 3 complaints from the CEO of Dynamite. Taxes are too high. I agree, and that's why we lowered them. We've lowered personal income tax. We've lowered school taxes, which is helping Dynamite. Second complaint, they want longer opening hours for businesses, shopping malls. We agree. We have a pilot project. When the pilot project is finished, we will extend these business. If the pilot project is successful, we will extend the business hour to all businesses. Third complaint, immigration. Population growth was too high in Canada, 2023, 2024. We need to absorb the excess, like for example, Quebec. We're used to 0.5 to 1% population growth. We had 2 to 2.5. It's going to take 3 to 4 to 5 years to absorb the excess of non-permanent resident that we witnessed after the pandemic. And we can do this. We will do this in a professional manner. And for special talent, like the CEO of Dynamite is referring to, we already have a program for that.
Okay, so he's not right to go out there and say that?
No. His concerns are legitimate, but there's always solution to problem. We need to sit down. He met the economy minister. I will meet him. I'm sure we can find solution, and he can continue to run a great business in Quebec.
Éric Girard, thank you very much. Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
All right.